Here, go.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to show you is how to use your Gracies. Your Gracies are area-specific instruments. That means that they're specifically designed for particular sextants in the mouth as well as particular surfaces of the tooth. The Gracies that we use on our clinic are your Gracie 1-2. Has a straight shank, so it's best created for anterior teeth, right? And then you have your 11-12, which is designed for the mesial surfaces and posterior sextants. This is not your 11-12, this is your 11-12. And then your 13-14, which is designed for distal surfaces in posterior sextants. Okay? Gracies are specifically designed to help the operator work without having to adapt the handle as much, so they have an offset blade at 70 degrees so that when you're working with your instruments you can have the terminal shank parallel to the tooth and your instrument is naturally aligned for correct angulation, as opposed to the universals, how you have to drop and try and make sure you stay in that range, right? Okay. We'll start with your 1-2. When you're determining the working edge of the working end, one way you can do this is by holding the terminal shank parallel to the perpendicular to the floor and having the toe facing you. I usually put my finger behind so I can see better, but you should be able to see how the blade is offset. The lower edge is going to be your cutting edge, okay? Once you've determined your cutting edge, then you can determine which surface the tooth is going to use. You're going to use for the tooth. So when I'm looking at this instrument, my cutting edge is lower, so I know that to make that adapt to the tooth, I'm going to be working on surfaces towards. So where do I sit for surfaces towards? Right. So you use your same clock positionings that you do for everything else, right? So what you will do is go to your get ready zone. You'll want to lower your handle slightly so that you can gently insert below the gingiva. Gracies can be used below and above the gingiva. They're best adapted for deeper pockets. Then you'll stand your instrument up so that the terminal shank's parallel to the parallel to the tooth. And then what you'll do is roll your tip in just a little bit. It's just a very slight. Can you see that? And what you're doing is you're locking the toe third into the tooth. Once you've done that, you will begin your rocking with your wrist, okay? So you're like this. Once you approach your line angle, you're going to want to start preparing to adapt. I would suggest that before you get to your line angle, just as you approach it, you begin to adapt. If you think about it like driving a car, when you're turning even a slow curve, you're not going to just turn it all of a sudden, right? So you're going to kind of slow down and prepare for your turn. And while you do that, you're rolling. And that's going to help you keep that toe adapted so that you're not getting stuck in the gingiva. Then you're going to work all the way interproximally so that you go halfway between the facial and the distal surfaces. Okay, keeping my shank parallel. Can y'all see that? Okay, so this is my edge I would use for my surfaces towards me. Then I'll flip my instrument and I'm going to come up and do my surfaces away from me. Okay? And I'll do the same thing. You want to try to use an intraoral fulcrum if you can. Sometimes you may have to use an extraoral fulcrum. When you're fulcruming, you want to make sure that you're not getting your finger in the line of fire. Okay? So I'm at my get ready zone. I'm going to try to close my angle as much as I can. And then I'll stand my instrument back up, roll my tip in. On these anterior teeth, you're almost immediately at the line angle, right? So you're going to start rolling as soon as you start working. So I'm in, lower my shank, stand it up. Now again, going slow with this, it seems awkward. Your wrists are going to kind of bend. But as your skills develop, it's a very quick motion, and so you won't feel it as much. Okay? So you're working around, rolling, and I'm rocking my wrist, and I'm just working to keep that shank nice and parallel to the tooth. Okay? Alright, so on your 11-12, where is your 11-12 adapted for? Okay? So let's do sextant 4 on the linguals. And the best way for you to determine your working end with the 11-12 is to take the terminal shank and make it parallel to a mesial surface in the area you're going to be working. Now, can you guys see over the top of me? If I adapt this one to the mesial, what do you notice about the face of the blade? Can you see? Where's it facing?
It looks like it's facing towards the gingiva.
Okay. If I try my other end and I adapt it to the mesial, can you see it? Can you see the face? Okay, so then we know that that's our working end. So when you're working on with the 11-12, you're going to start at the distal facial line angle, or distal line angle. You're going to lower your handle so that you can get into the gingiva. You'll stand it back up. You're going to lock. See that slight little motion? I'm parallel to the tooth, and I'm just going to start rocking. I don't want to take your calculus off, but I'm just going to start rocking along the tooth. Now, as I start to approach that line angle, I'm going to get ready for my turn. So I'm going to start rolling, and I'm working to just keep that tip nice and adapted. Okay? Working all the way to halfway between the mesial or the facial and the lingual. Okay? Any questions?
So you did the distal right now?
Nope, the mesial.
Only the mesial.
With the 11-12.
Yeah.
Okay? And now we'll do the distal. And again, the best way to determine your working end for your Gracie 13-14 is to adapt it to the surface that's going to be working. So the distal, right? Mm-hmm. If I adapt my terminal shank to the distal and make it completely parallel to the tooth, anybody, can you see the face of my instrument against the tooth? Mm-hmm. Let's see, I'll show you up here. Can you see it there? Can you see? Okay. Can't see it, right? Now, if I come back here, if I try this other end, what happens to my terminal shank?
Oh, it goes across rather than up.
Exactly. So you want your shank to go up and over on your distal surfaces for your 13-14. Okay? So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start at our get ready zone. We're going to drop the handle. We're going to insert. We're going to stand it up, roll it in, and we're starting at the distal line angle, right? So what does that mean?
You're going to go
Automatically roll.
Automatically, yep. We're going to work distally, and we're going to start rolling. So as soon as we lock in, we're already in that motion to start rolling around to the distal. Okay? All right. One thing you can think about your instruments, you've probably all played video games with a joystick at one time or another, right? Maybe a long time ago. But if you think of your handle as controlling where the face of your blade is going, if I drop it, it closes my face of my blade. If I open it, it opens the face of my blade. If I go this way, it brings the toe up. If I go that way, it brings the toe down. Does that make sense? And then if you think of the rolling as controlling the very tip of the instrument, you can just work it around. So it's like this is the controller of your tip. Think about it. It may or may not help you, but sometimes it helps you adapt a little bit better. Okay? Any questions? Okay.